Hello, my name is Keith Baudry, and you are listening to the Spectrum Sci-Fi Show here on WRUU. So it's been a great week since the last I spoke to any of you. Those of you listening through podcast, I appreciate that. Thank you. Last weekend, I was at GnomeCon 2017, and that was a learning experience, to say the least. So I had a vendor booth, and I was moving a few products, and promoting my comic. And I've had a ridiculously good response to my comic. So much so that I'm going to get the thing printed, physical copies, and continue to make them, and eventually publish a large anthology collection of all the comics into one volume. So I think that'll be really interesting to see grow as I continue. So the first one was about the first comic. It's called The Residence of the Machine. Resident, as in, resident of an apartment or something. Residence, plural, of the machine. And the reason for that name, it's about a sentient spaceship equipped with 3D printing technology and similar to Westworld in such a way that this machine, Magnus is its name, this sentient machine can 3D print and build these android companions for itself. And each episode focuses on these companions. They all die at the end of every issue. So you get a new character every time. The only recurring character throughout the entire series is Magnus, the spaceship. So you learn more and more about what Magnus is and isn't telling these androids where Magnus came from, what Magnus is trying to do. There's a few long form narratives based around these really short bursts of storytelling with these android characters. But yeah, so I finished the first one. I have finished the second one. I am storyboarding number 3. Now, if you'd like to know more about that, see a little bit of that, you can follow me on Instagram at Keith Baudry, KeithBaudry. And I will be posting little snippets of pages, artwork, little pieces of the comic there for people to see and to follow. But yeah, getting back to Spectrum Sci-Fi here, the Spectrum Sci-Fi show. I've got another episode of Dimension X here tonight, this afternoon, this morning, whenever you're listening, if you're listening to the recorded version. But I am sitting here at 5:05 p.m. on this Friday, this lovely Friday. This is the 5th Spectrum Sci-Fi show, thus the 5th episode of Dimension X. And let's see. It's going to take me a minute to find this. Apparently, I am not well prepared. But yeah, so I was at GnomeCon last weekend, and it was a lot of fun. It was very small, definitely a gaming convention. There were lots of board games. You could rent a board game, and when I say rent, there's no money involved. You just hand off your driver's license. They give you a board game of your choosing. You pick one, and you play as long as you want to. When you're done, you take it back, get your driver's license back, and maybe rent out another one. And that was open in this hotel 24 hours. So all night people were doing their thing. Okay, Dimension X. X. So I've been spending most of my time in preparation for the show reading articles and trying to procure some interesting tech news, entertainment news for you guys to make this show last an hour. My Dimension X episodes are only half an hour, so I like to interrupt them. And what you just heard was the beginning of Dimension X, and I'm going to quit stalling and let you guys dig into that. I'll be listening here with you, and I'll have some tech news here in a moment. Anyway, Dimension X. This episode is titled Knock.
Adventures in time and space, told in future tense. Dimension Can you predict the future? Can you tell what will happen in 100 years? Or in 10? Or in the next minute? Can you look beyond the known dimensions of time and space into the unknown, Dimension X? Tonight we have a strange story to tell. A sweet, blood-curdling little story that is really only 2 sentences long. The last man on Earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock on the door. Think it over. Suppose you were the last man alive on Earth, in the universe for that matter. The last man sitting alone in a room, and suddenly there was a knock on the door. What knocked on the door? You wonder, don't you? Your mind, faced with the unknown, supplies something vaguely horrible. But it isn't horrible, really. You'll see. The last man on Earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock on the door.
What? Oh, what's that?
Good morning, man.
What? Who are you?
You have regained consciousness.
Well, who are you?
I am Azan.
Maybe if I close my eyes, it'll go away.
I will not go away, man.
No, I guess I am awake. Who? What are you?
I am Azan.
Well, what's that?
Azan is intelligent life.
What happened? Where are you from?
From Planet 7 in the 3rd galaxy in the 4th quadrant.
Where?
It is not necessary to repeat information which is correct in the original statement.
Planet 7? You mean I'm not on Earth?
You are still on your planet.
Well, then what are you doing here?
The Zans have annexed your world.
You mean you've conquered Earth?
Yes, that is correct. We will now prepare your planet for habitation by the Zan.
Well, how about the people?
There is no longer any use for large numbers of lower life forms. Therefore, we have dispensed with them.
Dispensed with? You mean you've... When did all this happen?
2 days ago. You have been unconscious until now.
You really mean I'm the last man on Earth?
That is correct. Identify yourself now.
What?
Kindly provide data as to your position in the elementary social order of your planet.
Well, I'm Walter Phelan, Associate Professor of Anthropology at Nathan University. How is it you speak English?
We have deciphered your written and recorded records. It is not difficult to reconstruct your language. Very type of auditory communication.
Oh.
Is there anything you want to complete your natural habitat?
You mean I'm a prisoner?
That is correct. What will you want further in your room?
Well, do I have to stay here?
Yes.
The rest of my life?
Forever.
Well, then you better bring in my books, I gotta call you something. Do you mind if I call you, George?
It is immaterial.
All right, then, George. I can't really believe this.
That is a characteristic of low-life form.
I'm trying to take this in without going off balance completely.
I will be back, Associate Professor of Anthropology.
It's all right, George. Just call me Walter.
Very well, Walter. I will be back with your books.
All right, George. I'll be seeing you around.
You will not be around, Walter. You will be here.
Yes, the last man on Earth sat alone in a room, a rather peculiar room. He just noticed how peculiar it was, and he'd been studying out the reason for its peculiarity. His conclusion didn't horrify him, but it annoyed him. There was a knock on the door.
Come in. Oh, hello, George.
Hello, Walter.
What can I do for you?
Point one, you will please henceforth sit with your chair pointed the other way.
I thought so. That plain wall is different from the other sides, isn't it?
That is correct. It is transparent.
That's what I thought. I'm in a zoo, right?
That is correct.
I knew it. And if I persist in sitting with my back to it, what then? You'll kill me, I ask, hopefully?
No, we will not kill you.
That's too bad. George, I'll face the bars and perform for the people. I mean for the Zans. How many other animals do you have here in the zoo, George?
216, a male and female each of 108 kinds.
Male and female of all the animals?
There is a female of your species among the collection.
Anyone I know? Never mind, it doesn't matter anyway. Well, George, you started out with point one. I suppose there's a point two kicking around somewhere. What is it?
Something we do not understand. 2 of the other animals sleep and do not wake. They are cold. What is wrong with them, Walter?
Well, they must be dead.
Dead? That means stopped. But nothing stopped them. Each was alone.
Sure, they just died.
But I have told you they were alone. Nothing stopped them.
George, do you mean to tell me that you don't know what natural death is?
Death is when a being is killed, stopped from living.
Maybe these animals just died of old age.
Old age. I do not understand.
George, how old are you?
Your planet went around the sun about 7,000 times since I was born.
What? 7,000 years?
Yes, I'm still young.
Now, look, George, you've got something to learn about this planet you've hijacked. Here on Earth, we've got somebody that's a stranger where you come from. Down here, our people and animals live until the Grim Reaper stops them.
This Grim Reaper stopped the 2 animals?
That's right.
He will stop more?
Oh, he gets us all, George.
This is a new factor we have not considered.
But you can consider it. Because when the Grim Reaper gets through, there won't be very much left of your zoo.
You mean he will stop more animals soon?
Well, with your lifespan, it won't seem like a minute and we'll all be gone. Oh, it looks like you made a mistake, George. I don't think there's very much you can do about it.
That is not correct. The Zan is a logical being. We will take action.
Okay, so the Zan have invaded Earth. They have destroyed everything. Apparently killed off everything. And they have made a zoo out of Earth. They have 214 species in a building. Male and female of each, like some kind of weird alien apocalyptic ark. Including a single male, the last man on Earth. They did not say the last human, did not say the last woman. They said the last man. So that's that guy. I can't remember his name. I like that the alien's name is George. That's pretty humorous. Apparently these aliens seem to live forever, and they were not expecting their zoo animals to be stopped, if you will. Stopped from living. So, with that, I've got a few things to tell you guys. Deadpool creator supports Zazie beats as Domino. So Deadpool has its Domino. Sounds like Zazie Beetz has been announced, which in the past there's been a trend of whitewashing characters. That is when a white person, a Caucasian, plays a person of color or someone of a different nationality. That is called whitewashing, and that has happened. Excuse me. That has happened in quite a few movies for a long time. Even in the Wild West type movies, old spaghetti westerns, there would be the issue of white men painting their skin and playing Indians. So it's been around for a while. I say this to say that Deadpool, Domino, a character in Deadpool who has the ability to alter probability around her, kind of make her own luck. This character is typically very pale, very white. She's a very pale character with a black dot over her eye. What we have in the Deadpool casting is Zazie Beetz. In Zazie Beetz is a woman of color, which I'm not speaking out against. I just think it's an interesting casting choice is all. I would have liked to see something a little bit closer to the source material, but the current trend of blackout casting is interesting. You saw it with DC's Suicide Squad, where Will Smith played Deadshot, who is typically an older white man character, played by Will Smith, who obviously is an African American. I think that's some interesting type things going on with civil rights and Hollywood and equal opportunity, equal outcome, equality of outcome. Should not be a goal of government, but maybe I'm wrong. In other news, Godzilla vs. Kong has been announced as the third movie in the trilogy of kaiju films that was kicked off with Kong Skull Island. This movie has received great reviews. Kong has, and I hear it is quite the spectacle. I recommend. This is one of those movies you go see in IMAX because the special effects are just massive. Everything is huge. The explosions are huge. The rumbles are huge. The beast, the hair, the eyes, the roars, the spit flying from its jowls. Epic. So I recommend that be seen in IMAX if you're going to see it. Now, the next film, so Kong Skull Island, we'll call that film 1. The next film will be Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Ugh, another yawn, I'm sorry. Been a long day for me. Godzilla, King of the Monsters is due out March 22nd. Terry Rossio, a writer for a number of the Pirates of the Caribbean films, is the lead writer for Godzilla vs. Kong. He is joined by 6 other writers. Apparently, this film needs 7 writers. A film about 2 giant beasts blowing all kinds of crap apart, ripping cities, leveling nations, if you will, needs 7 writers. So are they all going to be writing the action scenes? I don't understand. Anyway, there's that. And with that, I'm going to jump back into Dimension X. Yes, the last man on Earth sits alone in a room when he hears a knock at the door. Knock. Back to that.
Where are you taking me, George?
We will be there shortly.
You mean, it's moving day?
That is correct. We are here now. You will live here now, Walter. It is a larger room.
Well, be it ever so humble.
Go inside.
Be careful with those books, George. Don't lose... Excuse me.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Well, I guess George didn't explain. George tries to be polite, but he hasn't quite caught on yet. I'm Walter Phelan.
My name is Grace Evans, Mr. Phelan. What is all this about? Why did they bring me here?
I think I know why.
Why?
You see, I've been talking to George.
George?
Well, that's what I call them, all of them. There's no way to tell them apart anyway. There aren't many of them here, yet. They come from outside the solar system, sort of an advanced scouting party.
Yes, I saw their spaceship. It's as big as a mountain.
They're moving in on us. They cleaned off the Earth with some kind of vibration that destroys all sorts of animal life. They killed everybody.
Oh, no. I was afraid.
Well, the cheerful note is that you and I and 200-odd other animals were picked up beforehand as specimens for the zoo. You know that this is a zoo, don't you?
Yes. I suspected it. But I don't remember anything about being captured. I just woke up here.
Well, they solved a lot of problems for us. Housing shortages, wars. I don't suppose the human race, you and I, that is, have to worry about anything now.
It's awful.
Only they made one mistake. They overestimated us.
I don't understand.
They thought we were immortal.
That we were what?
Immortal, like they are. Oh, they can be killed. But the Zons don't know what natural death is. They didn't know anyway until they lost 2 of us yesterday.
You mean there are more than 2 of us?
No more of our species. These were merely brother animals. A rabbit and a canary. And by the Zons' way of figuring time, the rest of us are only good for a few minutes apiece anyway. That's a joke on them. They figured they had permanent specimens here in their zoo.
But didn't they know that we'd all die eventually?
No, I don't think so. See, George told me he was 7,000 years old and he's supposed to be young. When they learned how quickly we die, well, they were probably shocked to the core. If they have cause.
How can you talk that way about it?
Academic detachment. I learned it at faculty teas. At any rate, they've decided to reorganize their zoo 2 by 2.
Oh.
Sure, they figure we'll last longer collectively, if not individually.
But if they think... That is, if you think for 1 minute...
No, don't worry. I don't.
But are they going to keep us locked up together in this one little room?
I'm afraid so.
It's horrible.
I agree with you perfectly, my dear. But all personal considerations aside, the least favor we can do the human race is to let it end with us. I don't see much point in continuing it just for an exhibition in a zoo.
How can you just sit here and lecture?
Habit.
But we've got to do something.
Why?
I don't know. It just seems we owe it to the human race to do something.
You got a suggestion?
There must be some way. They can be killed, you said.
I think that anything that would kill one of us would kill one of them. You see, I figured it out, I think. George cut his... Well, I suppose you'd call it his hand when he brought in my books. It started to bleed, red blood, but I could see the cut closing just as he stood there. And by the time he left, it was healed.
I don't understand.
Don't you see, whatever factor there is in man that makes him grow old is missing in the Zon. They just go on and on and on until... Well, until they're stopped.
Yes. But suppose we killed one. There must be some way.
Well, but what would be the use? They wouldn't even punish us. They just give us our food through a trap door and put a sign out saying, "Beware of the man, dangerous."
I don't think they'd have to bother in your case. I don't see anything funny.
I'm sorry. Just reminds me of Martha.
Martha?
My wife. She died 2 years ago.
I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Oh, it'll be George with my books. Come in. Hello, George.
Hello, Walter. Point 1, I have brought your books.
Point 1, Well, what else is on your mind?
Point 2, another creature sleeps and will not wake. A small feathered one called a duck.
It happens, George. I warned you. Old Man Death, the Grim Reaper. I told you all about him.
Walter, the Council of Zon has met. It has been decided logically that the only intelligent life to escape the vibration is you. Therefore, the logical conclusion is you are stopping these animals by some means unknown to us.
George, you're off your trolley.
You will tell me now how this is done.
You boys afraid you're going to lose the whole zoo?
It is necessary to save the remaining specimens as long as possible. If we do not get information, we may be forced to dispense with your species entirely.
Now, wait a minute.
This means you, Walter, and the female.
Now, wait a minute, George. Don't go off half-cocked. Let me take a look at these animals that won't wake up.
I will take you there now. Go first, Walter.
After you, my dear George.
Okay, so we got Walter and we got Jane. They've been put in a room together, and I guess the Zon expect them to live longer together. Maybe reproduce. I don't know. I'm trying to listen really closely for anything that sounds weird. But yeah, so apparently the Zon heal really quickly. He cut his hand thing, and it healed really well before he could leave the room. It was all back together, so that's kind of cool. The Mr. Zon dude, apparently their spaceship is the size of a mountain, Jane says. She's probably exaggerating. I bet she was really upset about it. She sounded upset about the whole thing, I should say. So, yeah, that's just a little recap. So we've got Walter is the last man on Earth sitting alone in a room. He hears a knock on the door. An alien walks in, a Zon alien from the 7th planet, who is part of a scout unit. They have cleaned off the entire Earth. They've killed almost everything, leaving only 214 species, male and female. And their goal is to make a zoo and study these animals that have survived. They allowed to survive, including 2 humans, a male and a female. Walter, they have a question. The Zon has a question because some of the animals are dying, and they don't understand the concept of death without murder. They don't understand how something could just die all on its own. So there is no age to them, in other words. But so then they put Walter in with Jane. I think her name is Jane. I've said it 3 times now, and they're going to see can they reproduce, or and then something like that. I don't know. And then George the alien comes back in and says, "Hey, why are you killing these animals?" So he thinks it's him who's making them grow old and die. So with that, we're gonna go back into it for more Dimension X.
This is the weasel.
You should have got him in the winter, George. The fur's worth more then. Then it's an ermine.
This is the reptile cage. Here are the ducks. This is the male. The female has been stopped.
Lucky girl. What's the matter, fella? You lonely down there?
Walter, you will tell me how you stopped the female duck.
You got me, George. I didn't do it. Maybe she died of the Dutch elm blight.
Walter, you are not being logical. We have concluded you are stopping these animals. Tell us how it is done.
I told you, George, I haven't the foggiest notion.
Very well. We will have to take further action.
Well, what are you going to do, George?
We have methods of action you will know soon. We will go back now to your room.
What happened, Mr. Phelan?
You can call me Walter. After all, George does, and we have more in common.
Oh, please, what happened?
Just a duck, a dead duck. George thinks I killed her by remote control. He thinks I'm holding out on him.
Good.
What?
Well, at least we can get back at them. At least we can do something to them.
Well, why? After all, George isn't a bad fellow, if you like an ant mentality.
How can you say that? They've wiped out the whole human race. They've murdered everybody.
I suppose they have, but we can't change that now, so why think about it?
Well, we can't just sit here and do nothing.
I fail to see how we can do anything else.
Oh, of all the men in the world they had to pick. Don't you want to fight back? Don't you want to keep on fighting until the end?
It hadn't occurred to me.
But we've got to, Walter.
Why?
Well, I can't really explain, but, Walter, if there was any good in man at all, it was that he kept on, struggling against nature and in the end even against himself. But at least he kept on fighting for what he thought was right, and we're all that's left. Walter, we just can't end it by giving up. We've got to keep on fighting.
You know, you do remind me of Martha.
Oh, look, there isn't much left for us, but we could beat them in this one small thing. We can pretend that there's a secret about death, and we could refuse to tell them anything.
There isn't anything to tell.
Well, they don't know that. Promise me you won't give in.
I suppose the worst they can do is to kill us.
Oh, Walter.
All right, Miss Evans. Hello, George.
Hello, Walter. Now, you will tell us how these animals are stopped?
George, this may come as a great shock to you, but I've decided not to tell you.
Why?
Oh, call it a romantic attachment to lost causes. My grandfather was a Confederate officer.
Walter, you are not being logical, but that is expected in lower life forms. You will come with me now, Walter.
Where are you taking him?
To the second level. Come now, Walter.
You won't tell them.
I can't guarantee anything, but as of now, I don't intend to.
We've got to fight. Remember that, Walter. We've got to go out fighting.
I think you're right.
Come now, Walter.
Goodbye.
It's been a pleasure, Miss Evans.
I am waiting. Come now, Walter.
After you, my dear George.
You will tell us now, Walter? That was the first level of vibration. There are many more. However, we have calculated that none of them exceed your threshold of unconsciousness.
Oh, very clever, George.
Of course. You will tell us now, how do you stop these animals? You will tell us now?
As of now, no. However, I'm not very brave, if that encourages you, George.
You are not being logical, Walter.
You're telling me.
We will now use vibration level 2. You will tell us now?
You know, George, I can't figure it out myself, but I'm stubborn. Maybe it has something to do about the dignity of man, the civilization such as it was that you wiped out.
I do not understand.
I didn't think you would. So go ahead. Vibrate.
Vibration level 2. It will be very painful, Walter.
That was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So, the sounds he made. Hilarious to me. So funny. All right. A little bit of news, I suppose. Marvel's next Star Wars comic will explore Anakin Skywalker's early days as Darth Vader. So, right when he donned the mask. Basically, I suppose, at the end of episode 3, the the comics will pick up. Oculus introduces Facebook Live streaming. Oculus Voice in new update. Explaining what VR is like can be a pretty daunting task. Today, Facebook and Oculus are making it a bit easier to share VR experiences with your friends and family, alongside a host of social features, which also include the addition of a new events app and viewing of 360 videos in Oculus rooms. Today, Oculus showed off an update to its Gear VR platform that will allow users to share live gameplay footage of their virtual reality sessions directly to Facebook. Interesting. I think that's what I've been saying for a while. The reason why people really aren't adopting VR, like really taking to it, is because no one really has grasped how to advertise it yet. People aren't really sure what they're buying. It's a very singular experience. There's no real multiplayer aspect to it at the moment. You kind of, to play a VR game, you somewhat lock yourself off from the world, and it becomes a very individual thing that you do. You can't share it with anyone right now. So this right here, the ability to stream live on Facebook your VR experiences could help push the VR adoption into new to new venues. Okay. Next up, machine learning startup competition by Google Cloud. Google is launching a machine learning competition of its own for startups. Google is targeting early-stage companies taking an innovative approach to machine learning. The competition is being run in partnership with 7 venture capital firms that include Sequoia, KPCB, GV, Data Collective, Emergence Capital, Andreessen Horowitz, and Greylock. 2 of the firms plan to contribute $500,000 each to the winning startup. To qualify for that prize, startups will not be required to use Google services. However, there are other prizes available for companies using Google Cloud and TensorFlow. The winner of the Build with Google prize can receive $1 million in Google Cloud point credits, GCP credits, an opportunity to engage with engineers at Google Cloud, and 10 G Suite seats for 12 months. That's a pretty amazing prize right there. $1 million in GCP credits. It's amazing. This is all an initiative to push people toward machine learning algorithms. Is that a good idea, really? Do we want people in their basement developing AI? Isn't this how we get a robot apocalypse? Do we want a robot apocalypse? Because this is how we get it. By really pushing people that have no idea what they're doing to try. This just sounds wrong. I know for a moment there it seemed like Stephen Hawking and things like that, people in the higher tier echelon of science were saying that we should be very careful about the artificial intelligence deal. I guess they're thinking that machine learning it's got to start somewhere. So they want to grab, I think Google wants to grab the project before it's learned too much. I guess they want the baby. They're basically adopting machine babies. How about that? Little mechanical minds. They're trying to buy them out. Right? Yeah, that's how I see it. Google wants serious influence in machine intelligence. Which, awesome. By all means, Google, do it. That sounds cool to me. I like AIs. All the ones I know have been really cool to me. That said, jumping back into Dimension X, where Walter is enduring painful vibrations at the hands of the Zon. He's the last living man on Earth, and the last living woman is off somewhere else. Why they think Walter, I guess Walter is the one that told them about death, so maybe they think it's him. It's like, why couldn't it be the woman? I don't know, why couldn't she be the one killing everybody? Anyway, knock. Continue.
Walter? Walter? You are still conscious.
Let me alone, George.
You will tell us now. You will tell us how you stopped the animals.
Let me alone.
We have had vibration levels 1 through 10. There are still 15 more before your threshold of unconsciousness.
No, let me alone.
Walter, listen to me. Another creature sleeps and will not wake. We must know now.
That's tough. You better start vibrating again, George.
No.
What?
It would not be logical. We have calculated that no further level of vibration will overcome your irrational psychological block. We conclude you will not tell.
You mean you're going to let me go?
That is correct.
That's real nice of you, George. I appreciate it.
We have calculated that the resistance of the female of your species will be lower. We will now place her under the vibrations.
Oh, no, George, you can't do that.
Why not, Walter? It is the logical plan.
No, she couldn't take it.
Yes, that is what we expect. Therefore, we will go and bring the woman here.
No, now listen to me, George. There is no secret. Do you understand that? There's no secret. Those animals died from natural causes. And I'm telling you the truth.
That is not a logical answer. We will get the woman.
Well, I've told you the truth. Can't you understand?
We must know now. The female animal cage next to the duck has been stopped. We must preserve the survivor.
The animal next to the duck?
We will bring the woman here. She will tell us after the vibration.
No, listen, George. George, do you want the truth? You want to know how to save the mates of the animals that have been stopped?
You will tell us now?
Yes, I'll tell you. Take me to that stopped animal, and I'll tell you how to save its mate.
Very well, Walter. You are being logical now. We will go.
This portion of WRUULP Savannah Soundings programming is made possible by a grant from Connect Savannah, the Arts, News, and Entertainment Weekly. Connect Savannah is available at locations around the city and online at connectsavannah.com.
Walter, are you all right?
Just let me catch my breath a minute.
What happened?
Well, after a while, I told them what they wanted to know.
You didn't.
Sure, as George pointed out, it seemed to be the logical thing at the time.
You gave up.
I suppose you can call it that. Look, I'm very bad. Something might turn up, Martha.
But they've beaten us completely then. There isn't anything we can do. Rest of the human race. And we give up. We don't even die fighting. You call me?
Oh, I must have said Martha. I'm sorry.
The Council of the Zon has met.
Something wrong? She was my wife. She died 2 years ago. What were you saying?
Nothing. Nothing. It doesn't matter. It's too late. Too late. For the whole...
What now, George?
Zon has been stopped.
What?
Azan is dead?
That is correct.
You didn't believe me, George. But you can die. You can really die. You'll have to get used to that if you're going to stay here.
The Council has decided. A, you have in some way stopped this Zon. B, you and the woman must be eliminated.
Walter.
No, you got it wrong, George. I didn't stop that Zon. It's just death. It gets all of us here.
You will be eliminated now.
But, George, it won't do any good to kill us. It won't save you. Everything that lives on Earth must die.
That is not logical.
But it's true.
The Council has decided. This time, you will have the full vibration.
This time? Walter, what did they do to you?
They have a rather effective third degree.
They tortured you, Walter?
Yes.
And Walter, it was all my fault.
I wouldn't even have tried without you. I suppose we have a last chance now to end with some dignity.
I think you're a very brave man.
Well, there isn't much else to do. Do we go now, George?
Now, Walter. Wait.
What's that?
I have been told another Zahn has died.
Now will you believe me?
The Council of the Zahn meets now.
2 gone already, and you were with me, George. You know I didn't kill this one.
What stopped him then?
I told you it's old man death. You came to the wrong planet, George. Your immortality doesn't go down here. He can stop you, but you can't stop him. And you'll all die if you stick around. And now what?
The Council has decided this is a place of death. We will leave your planet.
Leave? You mean you're giving up?
It is not safe for the Zahn.
Walter, they're leaving. They're really going.
Go on then, George, and don't hurry back.
It would not be logical to do so. We are leaving the Earth now. Goodbye, Walter.
Goodbye, George. Well, they're all aboard now.
Oh, it's so wonderful to feel the wind and the sun again.
Close the hatches.
Walter, is it safe for us to be out here?
Sure, they're not interested in us any longer. They only want to get away. And I want to see this, Grace, the Zahn leaving Earth forever. Now they're blasting off.
There they go.
Yes, it's over now. Well, I suppose we might as well go back in.
I still don't understand, Walter. What made them go?
Oh, I just told them the facts of life.
Of death, you mean?
No, of life. After all, I thought George was old enough to know at 7,000 years he was getting to be a pretty big boy.
I wish you'd stop joking and tell me what happened.
Look out for the steps. Well, do you remember when the first animals died?
Yes, the rabbit and the canary.
And their mates just started to pine and waste away?
Yes?
Well, that worried the Zahn. They wanted to keep the last specimens alive if they could. So finally I broke down and told them about affection.
Affection?
Mm-hmm. And then I introduced Donald.
Donald? Who's that?
Here we are.
Oh.
Come here. Grace, I want you to meet Donald.
Oh, Walter, please. What does affection have to do with it?
Well, that's what the Zahn wanted to know. I told him it was love that made the world go round, that having lost his mate, Donald would die immediately unless he had affection and constant petting.
Petting?
Mm-hmm. I even showed him how. Come here, fella. Come here. Yes, I held Donald in my arms and petted him a while, and then I let the Zahn take over with the animal in the next cage.
What animal?
Take a look. Hey, watch out. Don't go
Walter.
too close.
It's a rattlesnake.
Yes, it's a rattlesnake. The Zahn's metabolism made it impossible for them to die of old age, but I had a hunch they could be poisoned.
Then it was the snake that killed the two Zahn.
They never even knew what bit them.
Then you outwitted them, Walter.
I suppose.
And I thought you'd just given up. Oh, Walter, I'm so proud of you.
You don't have to be. I had given up. I probably wouldn't have fought at all if you hadn't pushed me.
Well,
we've got a world to plan, a whole new world, Grace.
I know.
We'll have to decide which animals to let out of the zoo and which ones would be safer to keep in. But first, there's a much bigger problem.
What's that?
The human race.
Oh.
Yeah, we've got to make a decision about that. It's a pretty important one.
Yes. But...
It hasn't been a bad race. course, it may go backward for a while until it gets its breath, but... Well, we can save the books and all the most important things and get it started ahead once more.
Please, Walter.
It's the Garden of Eden.
Don't be
all
ridiculous.
over again.
Don't be ridiculous, Walter.
Funny. You even blush like Martha. Oh, only you're stronger than she was. And prettier, too.
I wish you'd forget about Martha.
I think I will, my dear, if you'll only give me a little time.
Now, Walter Phelan, you listen to me. If you think for 1 minute that we...
Why, I thought it would never happen to me again. But it is love that makes the world go round. And so, Grace, if you could only...
I wouldn't marry you if you were the last man on earth.
But that's exactly what I am.
I don't care. I don't even want to talk about it. I'm going out.
Well, all right, my dear, but think it over and please come back.
You see, I told you. It wasn't really so horrible, our story. Remember how it goes. The last man on Earth sat alone in a room. And then there was a knock on the door.
Come in. Oh, come in. Come in. My dear.
You see, it wasn't horrible at all.
You have just heard the Frederick Brown story entitled Knock, an adventure in time, space, and the unknown world of the future, the world of Dimension X.
Now, about next week. Next week, we tell the story of a robot. But a robot that was almost human.
Tonight's adventure in Dimension X was adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Arnold Moss was heard as Walter Phelan. Louis Van Ruten as the Zon.
So next week, a robot that was almost human. All right, so the ending of Knock, that particular episode. I have a few qualms about it. It definitely felt like Stockholm Syndrome on the part of the woman. Something like... if you've seen the movie Passengers, starring Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence, where these two people are on a 100-year, 200-year voyage through space to colonize a new planet, and they wake up, or we'll say they both wake up early and cannot get back into hibernation. They fall in love because they're the only two people, and they really need the affection of one another to survive. Now, that said, this episode really reminded me of how that movie kind of ended. It's just weird. Anyway, yeah, so next week, a robot that was almost human. The actual name for that next episode. Let me see if I can find a name. Almost Human. Wow, very, very, way more than I expected. Anyway, a few things. So, Nier Automata, a video game for the PlayStation 4. I don't know if it came out for the Xbox One. I don't really pay attention to the Xbox One. I own a PS4. I play it all the time. Nier Automata, a game for the PS4, came out to great reviews. They're calling it one of the cult action RPGs of our generation, one of the great ones. It looks very interesting. The female character, I'll leave it at that. It looks like a very interesting game. Very interesting. The art design is incredible. Incredible. If the storytelling can reach the same tier as the art of the game, then I think it's something special. Horizon Zero Dawn has been out for a while. That's another PS4 game. I think that's a PS4 exclusive. Nintendo Switch has been out for a week now, and people love it. It's still sold out everywhere. GameStop now has a few bundles that they're selling for upwards of $500. There are a few there's a few for sale on Amazon, but they are price jacked. So where you'd normally spend $300 for one, they're selling for $420, $450 on Amazon. So you need to, if you're going to get a Switch, be really careful about where you buy it from, because you're going to pay a premium price at this point if you want it right now. It's hot, right? And it's a hot commodity right now. That said, if you do want one, if you are going to play that Zelda game, just keep your eyes out of the news. Just don't look at it, because any kind of gaming news, they're starting to spoil little bits and pieces of the Zelda game. So if you want to maintain that new feeling, that amazing feeling, that sense of wonder, then maybe avert your gaze for a while. What's more, coming up, Mass Effect Andromeda came out with their official launch trailer today. That looks amazing. They show off, looks like the main villains, alien races, and I cannot wait to play that game. I've had it on pre-order for 2 months now. That game looks amazing. I'm a sci-fi nerd, sci-fi junkie, hence my Spectrum Sci-Fi show, my sci-fi comic, and my weird, trippy sci-fi music sometimes. Mass Effect is going to be amazing. I can just feel it. It's going to be awesome. I need this game in my life. The new trailer showcases some really deep-voiced villains, and they have gnarled up, weird-looking faces and heads that are shaped kind of like a moldy banana. I don't know. It's awesome. It's freaking cool. So that's coming up here soon. I went and saw the Logan movie. That's an amazing film. If you can catch it, then do that. But if you want to wait till it's on DVD, that's quite all right. There's nothing really that needs to be seen on that big screen. It's a great film. It probably will be a timeless one, and it's brutal, man. It's definitely a brutal film, but somehow it just kind of, it doesn't quite, the brutality doesn't feel over the top. It doesn't feel gory per se. It's definitely just bloody, for sure. Bloody film. Very cool. Violent film. Very interesting. I recommend that one. Also, coming up, we've got Ghost in the Shell coming up here soon. Another great looking film that I would love to see. Also, Life is coming out here soon. That is a retro. Why do I say retro? It feels retro to me because it looks like this story's been done before. They come across alien life in space, and it goes awry, weird. Things go topsy-turvy. There you go. So that happens. Speaking of Walter was the main character in our Dimension X radio play tonight. Walter is also the name of Michael Fassbender's android character in the new Alien Covenant movie. That's coming out soon. Ridley Scott is getting up in age, and it seems like he has made it his life's purpose to expand the Alien universe as much as humanly possible. He's got 5 movies down the pipe planned. On the flip side, James Cameron has a solid 5 Avatar movies scheduled here soon, and the release date, the 2018 release date for Avatar 2 has just been pushed back. So the movie is trying to be made, it wants to be made, but just not right now, apparently. So I just keep on yawning. I'm sorry. And this is the end of the Spectrum Sci-Fi Show. I want to thank you for listening. I'm done here tonight. I'll see if I can have a bit more news for you guys next week. I know I've been kind of slacking on the news department, but just little tidbits. The real highlight, the real star of this show is the Dimension X. Those are great little shorts. And if you want to check out my comic, again, you can follow me on Instagram at Keith Baudry. You can like Spectrum Sci-Fi on Facebook. You can go to the Spectrum website at spectrum.myshopify.com. Spectrum, Spectrem, Spectrum. You can check me out there. And yeah, so Resonance of the Machine, Episode 3 coming out soon. Wrapping this thing up with a station identification. We are WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.